technology sometimes can be our best friend or worst enemy.
Yes, and often in my case it's the worst enemy. I wish it wasn't, but yes, you know what? Before we really get into the podcast, I had Lindsay Baker. You know her?
Yeah, Lizzie Baker.
Yeah, she calls you her best friend. I don't know.
We were very close friends for a while because we used to both teach at Art Institute in San Diego. And
Oh,
when she moved to LA, I brought her into the animal rights scene. And now she's full blown. She's even more active than me with Jane Blance
yeah,
Mitchell. So yeah,
that's
we're very
it.
close. I haven't seen her for a while because of the coronavirus, so I haven't seen
Yeah.
her. But
Well, you know, she
yeah, she
had a.
wanted to interview with us. I'm like, I said yes, but I don't know what the details are. The topic
Oh,
is so I said she goes, why don't you guys talk about what you want to talk about? Then
okay. That's pretty vague. Well, she had me on the show like I guess many months ago, and I found like the whole thing like not really well structured. Like
yeah,
basically, I had no idea what I was going to talk about, except that I was talking about the dog cat me trade, and she would play footage of a clip of mine that I gave her to show her like some of my interviews, and
uh-huh.
then she would stop the clip and it would just be me. And I had no idea how I was supposed to do. So it was like, I'm still glad I did it because it's good exposure, but I'm
So why do
hope
you want to do it again?
I guess I asked her like, is there something specific you wanted to talk about? And she was like, oh, well, I'll let you guys decide. Oh. Uh, Anyways, I said, well, I can ask Sheena because I'm about to have her on my podcast. I can ask her if she'd be free for that, and I guess we'll have to see. But essentially, for me, the whole reason why I would be on the show is to talk about the dog cat meat trade and
Right, right.
some progress that we're seeing in Asia. But with you on the podcast, it would be even better. I'm assuming we could maybe tackle some of your, the sanctuary that you work with in
Right.
China. So, you know.
Yeah, but the only thing is like, what, I don't know, during the coronavirus, it seemed that everything in a standstill. I wasn't even sure as far as for what progress really made this year per se.
Yeah.
Sounded like they went ahead again, with the dog meat trade in Yulin. So, but not much information come out of China as, just a lot of like people like adopting animals and things like that. Getting
Yeah.
like for example, my friend Park Queen is Isabella James. She has 100 dogs in China, but that's not specifically to dog meat trade.
No, it's just stray dogs or rescues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, these pugs she's rescued specific. Have you ever had her? She's super busy. She has 100 dogs, but the thing is, they're used for breeding. But now they don't want them anymore. They can either rescue them out or they end up in the slaughterhouse. So
Yeah.
has happened a lot. So that's a basic issue. We have to raise money for her to get those dogs
Okay.
with no
Well, maybe
flying
we could
problem.
focus on that then, like
Yeah,
Miss Ha, like, just highlighting some of
yeah,
these local nonprofits and maybe, put the focus on them. And anyways,
yeah.
we'll talk about it.
I know.
Okay, let's stick with the order at
Okay.
hand. And well, we've done the podcast before. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi connection at the time was so bad that I had a horrible time trying to edit.
Right.
So I guess we're going to go through the same kind of
Okay.
questions, but I'll try
Never
to
ending.
I'll try to focus more on the Ping An Fu Sanctuary and also 812 Faithful Dog Rescue that you work with.
Right.
And that'll be good because people often want to hear about local Chinese groups, and so
Right.
you're the best person to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, let's talk about that, the main thing, but obviously that it's challenging. I haven't really kept as close of contact, but they're still doing the same thing, all with
Yeah.
the funding issues. So, but the reason, most recently, I think you're the one posted about their financial situation.
Yeah,
Well, and my birthday is coming up. I was like, you know what, this is an
yeah.
opportunity. Just raise the money, and hopefully this Facebook will get the money to me.
But
Well,
you beat your target, so that's
yeah, I said
awesome.
1,000 modestly, and then I raised 1,000 within like 2 hours. So I and after like a bump up to 1,500, and then they beat that. So I just decided to leave
You
the door.
kept like raising the bar.
People were like,
That's
"What's going on? That's a moving target we never reach."
that's awesome. I mean, the power of, collective giving, it's great.
Right,
Yeah.
very important.
So I'll start with the introduction and we'll just go through the questions. And it's not live, so no worries. If you have to get up to go to the bathroom, go ahead.
Well, hopefully we'll get this through today.
Yes, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so I am absolutely thrilled to have on the podcast today Miss Sheena Gao, virtuoso violinist, fashion designer, stylist, teacher, and a preeminent animal rights activist fighting for animal liberation and the end of the brutal dog-cat meat trade. Sheena was born in Nanjing, China, and was raised in Shanghai. China, she has worked with a multitude of animal welfare groups over the years, and namely Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation, Vanderpump Dog Foundation, and today we're going to talk about some lesser known groups in China. And one of those is named 812 Faithful Dog Rescue, that's located in Beijing. And we also have a special dog sanctuary located in her native town of Nanjing, China, which is called Ping An Afu, which means peace luck. So Sheena is also the proud creator of the very popular Facebook group Mercy for Chinese Dogs that you started many years ago. And I'm a proud member, of course.
Oh,
Yay! And you also, I realize you are the one who started the group for alumni of Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation, which is a private group for those who have adopted one of these dogs from the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, from the dog meat trade, from Animal Hope and Wellness. So you're hard at work, girl. So welcome to the
you
show,
know, back
Sheena.
then, everyone chipping just a little bit to help this whole
Yes.
movement out.
No, you have a big heart, and we're so grateful to have you on the show because you are native Chinese, as mentioned, and you're the best person to talk to about shining a spotlight on these local rescue groups out of China because they obviously need our support. And so we're going to talk about that today. But before we get into all those details, I always like to have a little bit of a background note on our guests. So I know you were born in Nanjing, China, and you were raised in Shanghai. But what was it like growing up for you? Like back then in China, were your parents very progressive? I know you're a violinist. What was it like?
Well, you know what? I'm the only child. So my parents are professors of architect in China. So they have really strict with my upbringings, teach me everything I should be learning. They teach me like calligraphies, even like
Oh,
swimming, uh, uh, like riding bikes, so everything they guided me through learning. But also because my parents are both working professors, so I grew up with like a lot of Chinese kids grow up with their grandparents. So my
mm,
grandparents, my father's family was in Shanghai, so I grew up in Shanghai. So I
oh,
love Shanghai. It's one of my favorite cities in the world.
wow. It
Uh,
is. It's beautiful.
yeah, and a very international. Used to be colonized by by Europeans, by
Yeah.
Americans. So all the architects and everything, even the culture, are very diverse in China,
Um,
in Shanghai. So I enjoyed it there very much.
and what about pets? Because I know in China it's not a popular thing to have pets. Actually, it's only become legal, I believe, only in the past 10 years. Is that possible?
Yeah, well, back in the days, China's really poor country, so didn't have much. You can't even feed yourself. You get tickets to get food. Your own family, each family has its own limited amount of food. even back then when you eat meat, you certain meat tickets or
Yeah,
rice tickets or everything, you max that out, you better not eat more. It's
right.
so
Yeah.
let alone having a pet, it's unheard of, even have that. But then there was still cats here and there. Dogs is much more involved, so there weren't many dogs to
No.
as a pet at all. So, but they started having pets as dogs after I left China. I already started living in U.S. and I wasn't aware of China dog meat trade at all
I
until
know.
just 5, 6 years ago. Uh,
See, I mean, another example because I interviewed Suki Su,
mhm,
who's the director of the Animal Hope and Wellness China shelter, a
right,
native Chinese. She had never heard of it until
right.
she actually moved overseas to study, and she heard about it, about the Yulin Dog Meat Festival on a BBC documentary. So a lot of people are
Yeah,
surprised to hear that because it's not as prevalent as we might
correct.
imagine, you know?
Right.
So,
It's a not well-known form of food, so-called, in the market. You can just buy. It's a specialty food.
right.
So that way, you have to really search for it. I don't even know where you can even buy them. Grew up in Shanghai or Nanjing, and I've never seen it. I've
Yeah.
heard about it. I've heard people eat dog meat, and I have no idea where they got it. So
Oh my God. But now I think it's a, I mean, I guess over the years it might have become a little bit more commonplace in certain parts of China. As I understand, it's more in the south, and also there's a part in the north, like across from North Korea. So that's Harbin. And there are certain regions, provinces where there's a lot more dog meat, but it's not all over the place, you know?
yeah.
So,
More prevalent, like the 5 different regions, like near Guangdong, Guangxi area,
yeah.
which Yulin area, and then near Korea, which their dog meat is actually a true market. They grow,
Yeah,
they breed them to sell them for meat.
yeah,
Most Chinese just there's so many strays. All the dog people would just go out and steal other people's
yeah. They don't farm dogs. Yeah,
farm.
like South Korea does. And actually, we had Jill Robinson of Animals Asia, and she's the one, they did basically a 4-year investigation in the dog meat trade in China. And they found that, you know, basically there's virtually no dog farms. That's something that they did away with because there's so many strays. And it's a
Right.
lot cheaper. At the end of the day, it's much cheaper if you steal a dog than you raise it and you have to vaccinate it and, you know, all that stuff. So yeah, so that's good that you corroborate that. But uh, were you, I mean, you didn't grow up with a family pet per se, but when did your animal love for animals begin? Like, when was your first experience where you realized how amazing animals are?
Well, you know what? So it's kind of like always there in your heart, right? You always like when my family buy in China, you actually get live animals to the market and you kill them at home. It's so-called fresh. Because
Oh,
so then my family kill a chicken and see a dead chicken always make me feel really sad and weird. I don't want to look at it.
yeah.
So in the early day, I can remember that I have a special empathy for animals. But when I moved to US, I just noticed, I don't know why, I just always see other people have a pet. You always like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, that's
Funny that I never had that for kids. But when I see an animal, I'm like, how cute.
yeah,
Uh, so I have dogs, and my first boyfriend, know I love dogs, and he bought me. And that time, I don't know where he got the dog. Honest truth, it was a puppy. It's a Samoy. I love those big white fluffy.
oh, they're
So when he
amazing.
bought me one of those, obviously I was a foreign exchange student. I have no idea what to do with the dog, and in the end, I don't even. It's just a blur. I don't know. Then the dog had to be returned because I'm a student. A
And
foreign
it's a
student.
big dog. That's like
It's a
not a
huge
small
dog.
little dog.
So
Oh,
after that, then I just always loved it. since I had my first dog, then I always have dog. And now I'm just getting more and more.
I know. We have a problem there. Some foster situations that
Yeah,
became permanent.
foster fail or foster success, or you should
Well,
call
I suppose it is success, right? But I feel the same way because for me too, I grew up with a family dog, but I never bonded with him. Like for me, it was just like my dad's dog, and he was a beautiful dog, it's like a Great Dane.
Oh, wow, look at
Yeah,
you.
very majestic.
Yeah.
But I never was attached to him, and not until I adopted my first cat.
Ooh.
And that was only in 2011. That's when I really realized how incredible animals are. And it always, like, no matter how bad of a day I had, I'd come home and I'd see my cat, I'd give him a hug, and, like my whole spirit would, like, light up, So
I know
I,
that's very true. Sometimes you can go through life, you don't bond with a specific animal or
yeah,
anything. I remember I heard the story of this farmer that always raised cattle,
yeah,
but sent to slaughter, but just one particular cow, a female cow, bonded with him, and the eyes somehow they just.
connected, yeah.
And then now he turned the whole cattle ranch into a sanctuary. So it's
Oh, wow.
one cow that bound with a person.
Yeah.
You never know, one would just hit your heart and
Yeah,
become,
and
I mean,
it opens you up
yeah,
to the
exactly.
love and appreciation of animals. So that is great. I was curious, like, when was the first time you heard about the Yulin Dog Meat Festival? Because that's how I first heard about the dog cat meat trade was through Yulin, like many. And I am curious to know, like, who told you about it? How did you hear about it?
I actually saw on Facebook. So one day I was just scrolling, I think it was 2015, and I was scrolling, one picture come in my vision. It was one dog the guy was holding on with the neck, and the one from Yulin,
Yeah,
my friend, which is animal rights activist and producer, Alec, on his Facebook, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, no, it's not possible. I never even heard such a,
yeah,
but I couldn't watch it. I couldn't look at it. I
I
was freaked
know.
out. So then I did a little research. I found out it was true. China does have this called the Yulin Dog Meat Festival. We don't know at all. I have no idea.
No,
Matt, we don't seem to communicate. Back in the days, we don't have social media, so it's even
that's
worse.
it.
Social media is the way to open so many people's eyes to
Yeah.
see truth or not so true. But in the end, it does get the message across.
Yes.
So I happened to stumble upon one of my earlier animal rights mentor. Her name is Sky Valencia. She started this protest against Chinese dog meat trade,
Okay.
and I volunteered. And she reached out to me. She said, "You got to do that," So then I started to become friends with her. She had
Wow.
enlightened me a lot through that journey. Through her going protest, posting pictures, being the voice of the innocents, really got me on my journey. That
Yeah.
was in 2015, and we went. The first protest was at the Chinese embassy consulate in LA.
Oh, yes. It was in 2016, that one, or
Is it 2015 or 2016?
it was a
Somewhere.
big one. Yeah.
No, no, actually, it was a smaller one at first.
Okay.
A few of us that we went.
Maybe in 2017 is when they had one in
Yeah, started
DC
got bigger.
simultaneously in LA, and
Right, right.
that made a big
That's
splash.
already got bigger. And at first, when I just joined, it was a smaller. Then Lisa Vanderpump wasn't even involved in that
Yet,
prior
yeah.
to that. So I think the second year, I happened to be out of town, out of country, when Lisa Vanderpump had a huge protest against using
Oh,
dog trade.
you
But
missed that one.
we started before that, and
Mm.
we started to get the information out and started getting momentum when everyone started to jump on it, when we suddenly saw the images. That's how I
Wow.
met Mark Ching. And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, through his footages and his
Oh,
personal experience really speak volume, and we got first-hand knowledge and what is going on. Before it was like,
yeah.
no, are you sure? Is this for
Is
real?
this like fake news?
I
Is it,
know.
you
So
know?
without footage, no one would have believed it. You
No,
know, like without
no.
it coming out of, people was upset about Chinese doing this, but those images come from Chinese activists. There are so many
Yeah,
Chinese activists. They are the ones that getting the images out, they're seeking help from outside to support.
exactly. Thank
So
you. You
we
know,
can't be cussing every
it's
Chinese.
not pointing the finger at China. I mean, if this was happening in Canada, and we have our own atrocities happening, like the seal hunt. I mean, we have dog races, like sled dogs. I mean, we have a lot of things to be
Animal
ashamed of.
trafficking and all
Yeah,
that.
there's so much to be ashamed of. It has nothing to do with pointing the finger. It just so happened that this is more prevalent in Asia.
Yeah,
The dog cat meat trade. I mean, we don't hear about that sort of thing happening here. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but it's
right,
on a
right.
much smaller scale. It's very random. Whereas suppose there it's a trade, like in South
Right,
Korea,
right.
like you said, it's industrial size trade.
Yeah,
So that's good that we mentioned that. So you met Mark Ching, I think, through Sky Valencia. I think she's the one who
correct.
introduced you, and
Right.
I believe you actually went with him on those trips at the height of his trips, which was like maybe 2016, 2017, when they did the most rescues from Yulin. I think you were there. Is that
No,
possible? No?
I didn't go with him. I think he had some other people volunteer to go
Okay.
there. There are
Yeah.
different people went there. It was very, very challenging for a lot of people. They could not handle it. It was a tough job.
Mm,
Or just crying, end up like it wasn't as productive when all the people went there. They're not mentally prepared to see,
no.
mentally prepared to not able to save every single dog. It's
Yeah.
hard when you see dogs that you could not save, and if you save
Absolutely.
one, the other one's going to get killed. Without a collective conscious shift in China, you save one, the other going to get killed.
Yeah.
You save two more is going to be
Yeah,
shifted.
it's massive.
There's
Yeah.
no end to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go there. I went to Yulin another time when I was called for. When was I oh I have to look at the dates. It was one of the biggest rescue in China being stopped at on en route to Yulin,
Right.
and all the Chinese activists went there, and then
It's a big truck, yeah, that was
I
stopped.
think it was like over 1,000
Yeah.
dogs on that.
I
So
think 619 they called it, the famous, like it was June
yeah,
19th,
19th on that day.
probably 2017, or if I would hazard a guess. But were you
So,
there alone, or like
no,
did you go with a group?
what happened was when a lot of animal rescue groups went there to take dogs away because you have
Yeah.
so many dogs, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of them are really ill because when you ship a dog in the hot summer days, they're sick, they're ill, they're
Mm.
injured, they're just crushed,
Yeah.
broken legs, and distemper and all the illness. And so a lot of rescue from local rescuers and to international rescuers all went there. They all take like I will take 200, you will take this
Okay. They all shared the duty, I guess. Yeah.
war zone, right? Yeah, but end up there was a 300 left, and the 70 to 80 very ill dogs. One has like a really bad cancer, end up in the local clinic, vet
Mm.
clinic, and they reach out to me to see if I can go help them.
Oh,
So
wow.
I happened to be in China to see my parents, so I took a flight
Oh.
over to Yulin and I visited the rescue location, and that was really heart wrenching. I'm seeing what I really wish I didn't see, and I was at the butcher's market. They would not even allow anyone to go there anyway.
No. You were there to see the dogs that had been rescued, but they were in horrific conditions.
Yeah, they were in the cages forever. They don't even get out in a 70, 80, 90 degree, 100 degrees. and they would just pee and poo in the cages. And I went to the clinic and I raised money for them through Mark Chain. They set aside a separate account. I go
Okay.
through Katie Clary, it's a foundation to raise money.
Okay.
World Animals, they have their organization. So we raise the money to save these animals in the clinic, but they keep getting recontaminated.
Ah,
And you have many dogs locked up in someone's home. They were doing surgery on them. There's no anesthesia. They're so ill. I visited the location. I visited the big rescue location.
yeah.
Um, and in the end, these dogs would no one to take them. And
That's the problem. Yeah.
the problem with this is also the animal rescue situation. No one trusted anyone. So what happened was with the dogs, Miss Ha, Ping An Afu, I reached out to her and said, Miss Ha, please, would you please take those 300 dogs
Yeah.
that are remaining? And then all these ill dogs in the clinic, I reached out to Mark Chain. Is there any way you can take these dogs? Everything's settled. Martin said, bring them on, bring them to our foundation, we'll take care of them. And then Miss Ha said, yes, bring these dogs and get these dogs
Okay.
there. But the rescuers refused to release them.
They
And
didn't trust the other ones. I
they
guess.
said, oh, Miss Ha's got too many dogs, and plus the trucking from southern part to Nanjing, there is a little bit of distance, right?
Right.
So we had to go through that.
They thought they wouldn't survive the. Yeah.
Because Mark Chin is a foreigner. They didn't like him.
Uh,
The application that he bought dogs. Uh, but at that point, I would have paid to get these dogs out of the slum.
yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it is like a really tough moral decision you have
It's
to
a
make.
dilemma. Yeah.
Am I going to save these 400 dogs, or am I just to walk away to prove a point? I'm not going to give the butcher the money.
Yeah. No,
It's
and you highlight an important point because so many people criticize those who pay for dogs. And I understand by principle why it's a problem, because when Mark started going there and paying for dogs, then obviously the butcher's like, oh, okay, you can make money. They raised the price of dogs. It became a hot commodity, if you will. So by principle, I understand why it's a problem, but no one has any idea how you would feel seeing a dog that's dying in front of you, and your only opportunity to save that dog is to pay for it. I think
right.
most of us would pay.
Yeah.
I think,
Well, this almost brings me to a story I'll never forget. When I was traveling in Thailand,
yeah.
and there was a snake in the cage, and I was so naive. I thought they put a little live chick in there, and the snake was still sleeping, right? So the chick was going frantically running around, in the cage, and
Wow.
I was like, wow, that's how sweet. They try to prove we can get along. And my friends, are you crazy? They're feeding. For days, I was like, why did I not just pay that guy $1? Just get that chick out. Like,
Yeah.
but that doesn't really save the problem. But in my own conscience, I did something.
Yes,
So when you're in the situation, it haunts your soul.
yeah.
When you have all these dogs looking at you to say, I'm being boiled alive.
Help me. Yeah.
It's really hard, and then I can understand why the people say you shouldn't pay for it and drive up the price.
Yeah.
So in the end of the day, it's never accusative of what others have done.
Yeah.
Ask yourself what will soothe your soul for what you've done. And,
Absolutely.
and it's that's I always have an issue with the people always criticize the other. You should have done that. You shouldn't do this. I will do this. But let's not criticize other people for what they do their best in their heart of heart to
Yeah.
decide this is the best for them versus criticize the others. So
Especially when that criticism comes from people that do nothing. You're like, what are
that's
you
why
doing?
90% of
By
people
the way, what are you doing except keyboard,
keyboard
working on your.
heroes, keyboard heroes.
Yes, we
they
have too many of those people, but It's a must have been horrific what you witnessed, and you were there like,
I would go there to crying. One of the rescuers that actually got me there told me they have to move the dogs from location to location because the police are coming. You're not
mm,
allowed to keep all these animals, right?
no,
Then one night they actually load up the dogs, try to shift them to a different location. The dog started crying. All the dogs started to haul, and it was the most heart wrenching because they gone through this. They thought they are going to be killed, and
oh,
they started calling. All the dogs started to haul. I started to get goosebumps.
oh
They
my
started
God.
crying because they thought this is the end for them, and they were just being located to different place. But it was the most heart-wrenching. But think about it, they have their own language. They know what's suffering, what is
Yeah,
love,
yeah,
and for anyone to go save them and not able to save, it's the most heart-wrenching thing. And I visited the little uh, vet, and it was terrible. I mean, even we paid money wouldn't help because that vet was corrupt as well. He only just collecting money, and the
oh.
dog is not being cured at all. And
He
when
just wanted to make money.
yeah, and those are all in the cages like this big, and they couldn't even stand up. And the tray on the bottom is pulled out to clean up the
Yeah,
urine and put back in. They don't even have blanket or anything. They stand on the wired cages, and even the dog being rescued, it's not escaping from the suffering.
no,
It's so horrible. I went to the house and the dog was just half dead, lay in the cage. I said, "Do you walk these dogs?" "No, we can't walk the dogs. We're hiding these dogs in this attic." And there's like a 20 dogs there. They're barely alive. And they said, we're just hiding. But I said, but I already said to you, these dogs can go to Miss Ha. They at least, if they make it there, they have a life.
yeah. If they can just make it there, yeah. If they can survive the trip, yeah.
So meanwhile, I was looking at the dogs being rescued but still suffering. Then I go to one street. They're selling the puppies, selling the cats, selling the as a pet, so called. On the other side of Guangdong, like Yulin area.
Oh my God.
And on the street, I just see this woman holding on the cats, selling cats. And I walk the other way. There's a cat just blood is coming out of her mouth and laying on the side of the street. It was horrific experience. And at the time you were there, it's a shock. You're not knowing what the heck is going on. And then you walk away for days. It just stay in your
It
soul.
scars your mind, you know.
Yeah.
It's very scarring.
I feel really helpless in the sense of like, yes, I saved 10. It's the lucky dog.
Yeah.
If I brought them to US and then they get adopted, but then 10 more, it's just no end to that if the count is
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like you can rescue all the dogs in the world, but unless and until there's actual legislation that is banning this
right,
altogether
right,
and
exactly.
enforced, because now we've seen some progress. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but um, rescue is, I mean, that one life save is a victory, like obviously, but it's not a solution to the problem. The problem has to be dealt with, directly, and the only way it's going to work is, over time for people to change their mindset towards animals, to recognize that they are sentient beings, to appreciate them for who they are. I
Right.
mean, dogs are man's best friend. And, there are a lot of nonprofits in China working at that, trying to teach children to appreciate animals. And it's a slow process. It's not going to happen overnight. Unfortunately, we're not very patient, but it's not going to be fixed overnight. And certainly, like you said, it's such a massive problem that you can rescue 10, there's 10 more that are going to be slaughtered. It's just nonstop. It's a rotating, vicious cycle. And
It's the progress in China. It's the progress of the economy. They're economically started getting better.
Yeah.
People are having more money, disposable income. Now it's always showing status. Like, okay, now I have a nice expensive purse. It's
Yes.
very well known in Asia, in China, right?
Yeah.
But now animal become accessory to these people. Oh, look at what I have. I have
A little
animal.
dog, yeah. Little
Little dog.
Pomeranian.
In the sense of it has but if I don't like it, just like a purse, I just discard it. I go buy a new one.
Yeah,
But if the
it's
mindset is still the same way that okay, I don't want this dog, then I'm leaving. Oh, I just had a baby. Oh no, I don't want the
yeah.
dog anymore. They just send dog out. Oh, worst part, just ditch the dog in the street. Or if you have a little bit of heart, you will see if your friends will take one, or go to
Yeah.
Mr. to say, hey, you know what? Drop at the at a rescue.
Yeah.
But for the most part, here goes the dog. And another issue in China is like there's such a transient situation. The major cities are developing fast because all the workers are come from outside major city, which is all the farmers
Yeah.
who want to seeking for better life coming to the cities to working as construction workers, doing the pedicure, manicure, or nannies. So they only live in the city a certain time,
Yeah.
and they get their dog. As soon as the holiday comes around, or they just decide I don't have anyone to watch my dog, here goes the dog in the street, and then they go
Um,
home. So
yeah.
they left so many at demolition sites with so many old buildings being demolished and the new buildings being built.
Yeah.
Every demolition site, you will see 100 dogs to 200 dogs being abandoned
Just
at
there.
that site, and the owner moved away. So I also help. Well, we called a name called China Doll uh, Rescue, and I know two Julie and a bunch of other Chinese ladies. They got together, used their own money in Beijing. They saw these dogs and they rescue these dogs. So
Wow.
I can't exactly remember. They have a name for that. They changed from China Doll Rescue, which is easy to remember,
Yeah.
World Animal Rescue, I think it's called.
Oh,
So
okay.
they would rescue and bring the dogs over, bring the dogs over. So I was fostering for them and pick up dogs for them as well.
Wow.
They're the Chinese ladies living in Los Angeles and rescue these dogs as well.
Oh, okay. They're working with people in LA, or are they local
So
Chinese
they're in
ladies?
LA. No, they're Chinese living in LA, and they go to Beijing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and those dogs are rescued from Beijing streets, but
Mm.
then again, the same way, if they're not being rescued, they procreate and it just become a market
Yeah.
for the dog meat vendors. So they were just taking them, and it's a free 100% profit for these people.
Absolutely.
Dogs,
Yeah.
right? And these dogs are, people always say, well, how come the Chinese dogs, like their mutts, like cute? Uh, well, the thing is, Chinese are only like purebreds. So when they abandon those purebreds,
Yeah.
they pick them into the street. So the purebreds, like Pekingese and mixed
Mix
with
with,
another
yeah.
purebreds, they have this little cute, interesting looking dogs with
Yeah.
short legs. Because why? Certain cities has limitations on the dog's height. So
Yes.
they're all like like that's really they'll confiscate it if your dog is taller
Then
than
34 centimeters, I think.
I
Something
think
like that. It's like
right. It
not
was
much. It
not.
eliminates golden retrievers, it eliminates German shepherds, huskies. I
Oh,
mean,
German Shepherds. Miss Ha has like tons of German Shepherds there, and
oh,
there's Tibetan Mastiffs. They're massive.
oh my God, no way would that be allowed, you know?
No, no, they will capture them. They will kill them on the spot. So there's
Is
no
that
mercy for
more like big cities only, like Beijing? We're talking about capital cities like that?
all the cities. The smaller
Yeah,
rural town, they can have a bigger dogs. They can
okay. In the countryside, I think often as guard dogs, they
right,
have them.
yeah.
Yeah.
They don't fix or anything. There's no animal rights or protection laws there. That's
No, and still to this day, as much as we're happy about some of the changes that have taken place in China, I mean, namely Shenzhen and Zhuhai have both banned the dog cat meat trade, and not just the selling of dog meat, it's actually the consumption, which is great. That's what we want, you
yeah.
know? Um, but yeah, there's still no animal welfare laws, and that's another reason why, some people were criticizing us. I mean, I'm talking about me and other dog cat meat trade activists over here from encouraging adoptions, like overseas adoptions of these dogs. But they don't understand that if the dog stays in China, they are at risk. They could be.
They're not adoption is very uh, not a popular thing in China. It's
And
a
if
buying
and
policy.
like we just mentioned, the size of the dog is very specific. So that dog could be
Only purebreds needed. They only want a purebreds. They don't want
yeah, that's it. And
there
so
are
like
options, but not very often at all.
so it would be a risky proposition to leave a dog like that had been victimized, because he could be dog napped again and put in the slaughterhouse. So that's a big reason why we want adoptions from foreign countries, and that includes Europe, the UK, Canada, US. We all can play a part. We also have a lot of more resources.
Right.
Like China is progressing, but still there's a long road ahead. And some of these countries that have a dog cat meat trade, like Cambodia, there's a lot of poverty over there.
Cambodia, Vietnam, that's even worse. I mean, I remember I talked to Mark Ching before, and in Cambodia or in Indonesia, those markets.
Yeah.
Is it called Tamha? I can't remember.
Oh, Tomohon,
Yeah,
Tomohon market. That's in Indonesia. Uh,
Indonesia. It was
yeah.
extreme market. They torture animals.
Yes.
So they, to Mark Jin, he said he has obviously talked to different vendors.
Yeah.
Uh, well, at least, in China or Korea, there are fights against that dog and extreme markets and things like that.
Yeah.
In like Vietnam and in Indonesia or uh, that's not even there. That they don't even register conscious like thinking that's wrong. They
No.
no remorse for what they
They
do. It's
have
a
no
much
empathy.
longer wait, yeah,
Yeah.
to get these people to change. Um,
Yeah.
we have a chance for China and Korea to change,
Yeah.
uh, but much harder with Southeast Asia. They're not
Yes.
there at all. Yeah,
Because it's a lot of corruption. And in Vietnam and Indonesia, people often have their dog, their family pets stolen at gunpoint. This trade is run by criminal gangs, and there's imminent danger, and people's lives are at risk if they want to fight this. And the government is often in their pockets. I mean, there's a lot of corruption.
right, right. Yeah, it's
There's a
very
lot
bad.
of challenges in some of those countries. Yeah.
Corruption, and also people are not there yet. Not really have a compassion for they sell their pets for
Yeah.
that poverty really is the driving force of people selling their pets, right?
Yeah.
So I can get some money off of it.
Yeah. It's just they
So,
don't recognize them as family members. Like for them, it's like something that they can dispose of. It's
right,
more like an object than a being.
yeah,
Um,
exactly true.
but yes, you're absolutely right. I think, what would you say, like off the cuff, I'm just thinking of this question. I've asked it before, but in your opinion, who, between China and South Korea, which country do you think will be the first one to really ban the dog cat meat trade as a whole? Are you more hopeful with South Korea, or, each country presents its unique challenges.
Right.
Like China, part of the problem is that it's a communist regime.
Hmm.
So even though the population can be against something, unless the government endorses that, it probably won't come to fruition. But, the government has stated that dogs are companion animals. So and that's a huge decision. That's a game changer, if you will. Um, And then South Korea, we would think we're more hopeful because it's a democratic political system. So if enough of the population says this is what we want, and they're the ones electing those government officials, then you would think there's a greater possibility. But then again, in South Korea, it's unique because it has dog meat farms and
Right.
dog meat professional unions. I mean, it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough
Well,
one.
that's really hard to know. In China, more and more people are uh, have better understanding. I think their most problem is fear of the dogs, right? They scared of
Yes,
dogs. Like, oh my God, this dog's gonna bite me.
yeah.
And there are a lot, no leash law. So then when you get the animal lovers and animal fearers,
Hmm.
you start getting a fight in the street. Like the
Yes,
guy owns a dog, is like, oh, just my dog. I don't care. The dog runs around, say hi to everyone, but unaware there are people afraid of dogs, and they get
yes.
angry. So there's always going to be this war. We call them war between the animal lovers and the animal, you know, I wouldn't say haters, but they just
Those
don't
that
really
are
understand it.
fearful and
Yeah,
feel like
fearful of animals. So that's a big issue. And uh, it's education. But in China, I can only see a city by city change. There's
yeah,
no way the whole country will change all at once, right?
no, that's
So
it.
there's certain area would be much more like Shanghai would be. I would think it would be a
Yeah,
city will ban it, or Beijing, those bigger cities.
yes.
Um, Honest to truth, it's really difficult to see change into the young generations, like
Take over. Yeah,
20s, right now at the
yeah,
20s, early 30s.
yeah.
Over 40, it will be a little bit harder, but over the age of 60, 70s, so they will form their way of living.
No,
Yeah,
they're gonna be push.
Korea. But Koreans are very stubborn. Like these
Yes,
people, like love dog meat, and they would not back down whatsoever. Their
no,
ego is really stubborn.
they are stubborn.
But I think eventually once it's changed, it will be wildfires taking over the compassion. I think China will change, but it will take a good
Time. It takes time. Yeah,
another,
yeah.
another 20 years.
Yeah, and it's funny because I interviewed Nami Kim and she said the same thing as you. It's like, give it 20 years because the people in office at the government in South Korea, let's just talk about South Korea, they love dog meat. You know, they eat dog meat, so they're not going to be pushing for legislative change on that front.
Right.
They're more traditionalists and they believe it's their national right, you know,
Yeah,
their traditional right
they
to eat
can
dog
use
meat.
cow, right?
Yes,
You eat a cow. Pigs have
yeah,
intelligence. Why do you eat pigs?
yeah,
So, so that's how I become vegan, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. Like when
yeah.
one animal, why the other animal is different. They all have the sadness, the emotion. So but in China, Yulin area, there's a lot of mafias. So it is like the government, Yulin government. People always say, why does Chinese government don't step in? Just like American government don't always step into local legislations.
Mm-hmm.
Local is the biggest issue in China.
Yeah.
Yulin dog meat trade, because they generate a business from all the surrounding Southeast Asians. They all go there for this festival. They generated this festival
They
to a
make money. Yeah, it's
so,
profitable. Yeah.
and everyone goes. And now when we fight, it gets so much more publicity. It's even more popular. So they all went there just for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's like this is for local government. Local government controls, and local government is controlled by the mafias. They don't call mafia, but is basically
Yeah.
ruling them. So it is really difficult until these people out of office, just like
Yeah.
like a
That's it.
lose the city,
Yeah.
then it will be gone.
Yeah.
But for now, and
It's
they're not
tough.
educated. They have never been to other countries to see the world. They think their world is just this around them. So I've never
Yeah.
changed. I always do that. What's the difference, you know?
Yeah.
I go to Chinese market over the last week when in LA, just LA market, you still see the pigs, the fish are hanging there like a, you know,
I know. It's so
all
brutal.
vomit. But guess what? They've so desensitized the Chinese.
Yes, it's
Chinese market
desensitized. Yeah, it's
buying it, you know, and I see the lobsters like struggling in the tank being sold. And I was just like, we all see that, we don't see it.
we
You
don't
know,
see it the same way. Yeah, it
you know,
doesn't register the same
walk
way.
right by like this is alive, actually crying out for help, but you can't hear that.
Yeah,
It's really difficult and just so desensitized. The only
and therein lies the problem. And often we're like here with our own little lenses, or maybe rose-colored lenses. We're looking at the problem from like, how can they not know that this is wrong? But imagine being born and raised in a small town like Yulin. Your father, this is what he does for a living. He butchers dogs for a living. So you
yeah,
grow up around that. So that becomes normal. Like that becomes part of your normal environment. This is what we do. This is how we live. Animals are there. They're a commodity for us, and
right,
that's it, you know?
yeah,
So I can imagine if I was born and raised there and my family, this is what they would do. Well, obviously, I wouldn't have the same perspective as I do from
right.
my own
And
little privileged life, you know?
exactly, you will see the little goat on the street. Oh, the next day being butchered. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You know, oh, a dog.
It's what happened.
Okay,
It's what
a
happened.
cow. Oh, it's all the same. Like one of
Yeah.
my friends become vegan. The reason for that is she when she grew up and their neighbors have cows and stuff. There's a cow family, so she walks by every day, says hi. But one day she walks by, they're not there anymore, and they all got
Mm.
killed and it was hanging there. And from that moment, she just clicked. She was like, "Oh my
She
God!" So
realized they weren't just having a good time in the
I
field.
know. Exactly. You never know that, right? When you grow
Yeah.
up, you just say, "Oh, hi," say it, and it just changed your perspective altogether. So yeah, you grow up to see the dogs are being a part of the food chain.
Yeah.
You won't see it differently. Just like
Yeah.
I try to convince people you should not eat a pig or cow. People look at me, you crazy?
You're
This
like,
is
we've
what
been doing it for thousands of
I
years.
know. Why
Yeah.
would I
So
not
that's
eat
always a justification.
same
Yeah.
same thing, right? You see dog being a part of the food chain, so there's no difference for them. But we can always point a finger to say, how dare, because we use that. But one of the Korean vendors that so interesting about such a perspective, put in perspective, he's selling puppies, and he was asking people to buy puppies.
Yeah.
And you would ask, well, you're buying puppies. What do you do with that? He said, hey, it's up to you. You can make this a puppy your pet or you make this a puppy your dinner. It's your
For
choice.
me, I just want the money. You know, that's all I care
Yeah,
about. So,
it is.
like,
So isn't that put you in perspective? Like this dog, puppy,
yeah,
comes for two people. Either it's going to be eaten or be someone's puppy, family.
yeah,
How ironic is that? It's like
yeah. It's like,
our mind is so disconnected to say, oh, multifunctional. You wouldn't think like,
there are many possibilities.
but coming back to the old story back in the days in China,
Yeah.
you can actually buy a girl, right? So this is a funny story.
Oh.
My mom's aunt, never able to have kids. So she went out, she adopted two girls.
Hmm.
So the two girls come in, they come from equality because both adopted girls.
Yeah.
She made one servant, one her daughter. So look at that. This
Yeah.
one girl's destined to
Yeah.
be servant for the rest of her life, polishing the floor, living a hard life. But the other girl gets to be a princess and live. But they come from the same
Oh my
place.
God. So they were the same on equal footing, and then one has a
Whole
different.
society or human just made them unequal. See, same
Yeah.
with animals, right? The dog and like
Yeah.
the dog comes in, are you gonna make it a meal or are you making it a pet?
Yeah.
It's just the irony of the consciousness. Like you think about it, you have to be progressed enough to see something's not right here. What
Yeah.
are human to make that choice for other lives?
Well, for me, it's always I stopped eating meat when I was 15 years old. So that was a long time ago. And it came out
I was
of
not awake at that moment, but I know something's not right, but I still wasn't awake.
like you said, like some of us just don't make that connection, and it takes
Yeah.
time. It takes time. But for me, it was just shocking. I saw footage of a slaughterhouse, and 5 minutes is all I needed. I was like, after seeing that, I was like, there's no way I can eat that. It was so disgusting. It's like just violence. I was like, I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to eat that. And so for me, it was the awakening that moment. But for some, it takes longer. And at the end of the day, I operate, my motto in life is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so I'm imagining if my life was a cow, like I was born, in a different life, I'm a cow. I would not want to go through that kind of pain and suffering. So you have to extend your compassion to other life beings and stop seeing humans as the
Right.
predominant being that is
Superior than others.
that's superior, that's entitled to all these things, yet other life beings like animals don't have those rights. I mean, I don't believe that's true. We are not as intelligent as we think we are because we're running ourselves into the ground environment wise and all sorts of things.
We
And
destroy everything. We're the worst animals around.
yes, we're the most destructive species. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to argue with that. And so I think you have to appreciate animals, and they have their own intelligence, and like it's incredible.
I like their life. They have their
Yeah.
families.
Yes, they
Family.
have
They,
families. They have emotions. Yeah.
they cry when they are being slaughtered. So it
And
was just not right for anyone, But it's the key word here is empathy.
yeah.
You have no empathy for other, meaning like put yourself in someone else's shoe,
Yeah.
walk a mile in someone else's shoe to understand that extend beyond human. All
Yes.
intelligent beings, you walk a mile. I remember there's a one little white pig. They have a picture of like, oh, he goes to temple. He fell off the truck. He went to the temple to beg for his life, right? So they, oh, how cute. But to them, like a moment of like, oh, what a cute pig.
But
But
then
they,
they eat the pig for lunch. Yes.
oh, the irony wasn't it in Canada? There's a fireman to rescue all these little piglets
Oh,
in the fire. Do you remember the story? He
no.
rescued all these baby piglets
Okay.
from the fire, and weeks, days later, the owner cooked all these pigs and served the firemen to thank them.
Oh.
What kind
Yeah, so you have a moment of clarity and then it's all gone.
morbid, right? It's
Yeah, that's
in your
crazy.
mind.
Oh, I didn't hear about that story.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's
great.
a famous on the news. It's Canada. You should research on that. It was so
It was
sad.
many years ago, or
No, I think it was last year or the year before. It
oh,
was really recent.
yeah,
With oh, they have pictures of the pigs. They're like this little.
cognitive dissonance, I think is what we call that. But yeah, so I do want to. I know, like, okay, so we're about an hour in. Do you have another half hour at least?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Today
Okay.
I have all time for you.
Oh, lovely. I love you. Okay. So, we talked about, like your work with, Animal Hope and Wellness. I mean, I think you've fostered some of their dogs
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. But also you work with Vanderpump Dog Foundation, and can you tell us a little bit of what you did with them?
I worked. I started. Well, it's kind of funny. It's all come around with the Vanderpump because when we're working on a project with Vanderpump, John Sessa was the particularly with the Vanderpump, the lead of the
He's
Vanderpump
the
Fund.
director, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
he's the director at that time, and the Sky and me and a bunch like a Puck Queen, Isabella, and then we have like a bunch of other animal rights people
Yeah.
together working on a project. That's how we started. That was before Vanderpump had the Dog Foundation yet.
Okay.
Prior to that, and we worked together on a project, and that's how I met Mark Ching, and he told us the story. He was one of the member
Okay.
working on this particular TV project at that time. I started to go to Mark Chin's foundation,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was the very early ones. Like the first time, I think it was end of 2015. He has his first rescue from Korea.
Oh, okay.
Remember Evie, um, and
Yes, I remember Evie from your video. You did a
I
video. Oh,
they
so
that
cute.
was the first group that came from Korea. Uh,
Oh,
I fostered Evie, and I love that dog so much. I miss her, and I took her to TV and get her adopted to a family. So I was going there every single day, to help out when they were still in the back of their restaurant, which is their retail front. Then they have this tiny little rescue room with all the dogs in there. It was super small then, and it got bigger and bigger. I was literally with him all the way till 2017. Then Lisa Vanderpump's
um,
dog.
Sheena,
Yes.
we're having a connective issues. I don't know if you like you did something earlier. I don't know if you're able to put it on a different router, or I don't know what you did earlier, because
Yeah.
it freezes a lot and then it becomes pixelated. So,
Oh, strange. It shouldn't be. Let me open the door. Maybe the router signal will come
okay.
inside a little. Uh, is it a little messy there? I was packing to go on my a trip. Is that better? Or
It's still very pixelated.
sometimes it just go in and out. Uh,
Because yeah, I don't want your story to be all messed up because now like the channel is just not picking up. It's sometimes cutting you off. Um,
oh, still on the same one.
you're still
Yeah,
on the same one?
my internet is not always the best. Let me see. Okay. Is that better? I haven't moved.
Well, right now I can hear you, so I guess we'll work with that.
Oh, it keeps going out, in and out, like a Wi-Fi on. Now it's on, not looking for network. It's so weird.
Okay, maybe it's like and there's no one else in your home right now, like using like video streaming.
No, no one. Oh. Is it still bad? Do
Like, do
you
you
want
have
to?
a hard time watching videos online?
No,
No?
no, not when I was in another room. In this room, usually it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
Uh, yeah. Let me see. No, no one is. There's still hiccups.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit pixelated, but I guess there's no
Strange.
point in trying
Maybe
to
it's
change
2G.
locations or.
Is that I switched to 2G and see.
Okay. Okay, maybe we'll let it do its magic because I think the image became a little bit better.
Is that better?
Yeah, okay. I think we'll give it a shot because there's no point in you going in a different room, I guess.
no one using it. It's just like this area probably always having this kind of weird issues. I don't know why. Is
Uh,
it still?
is this the best place in your apartment for Wi-Fi or
Yeah, it's the closest to
the router?
uh router. Yeah, now you're let me try one more. Why am I hearing noise?
I guess I mean right now it's pretty okay. So let's I guess keep talking and we'll cross our fingers.
Yeah, that is so annoying.
Okay, so I'll try to put you back in your speech. You were talking about Vanderpump, and you guys were working on some kind of TV project, and that's how you met
Yeah,
Mark. And
yeah.
you were
Then
one
I
of the,
went to visit,
oh,
you
you
know,
were talking
the
about Evie, or
yeah, Evie is a wonderful dog. That's
yeah,
my first foster. She really touched my heart. She's someone's pet. You can tell from Korea, and
yeah,
she used to command in English. That's the crazy part. She had a
wow,
collar when it was rescued.
yeah.
And then she was hiding in the corner, and when I saw her, and she went through a lot, and they find out she actually pregnant, and she was having
Oh my
they
God.
actually fixed her and aborted the babies, and then she broke her little toe. So I said she can't be there, so I just took her home, and I loved her so much. And
Oh,
that's the journey of like a fostering other
yeah. You've done quite a bit of fostering.
yeah, I did a lot of fostering. Each one of them take a piece of my heart away.
Yeah.
It's always very hard, you know.
And right
Uh,
now you have dogs with you. Like you have your own dogs that you've adopted. Can you tell
yeah,
us all
well,
about?
the last one I really helped with one of the I think a sister Yi or is this I can't remember who that was it was not through her directly, so from
Okay.
someone else that I was fostering about few dogs when they've already adopted, but just this one little poodle that wasn't adopted yet, and so I fostered her and I fall in love with her. So she went crazy on me, she tried to bite me all the time,
Oh my God.
and now she still try to bite sometimes. I'm just learning how to love because the dog went through a lot,
Yeah.
and she would try to. She gets grouchy, and and she tried to bite me. That was it. But I took her in, so now she become my permanent family. Now I have three dogs. Much more work than I thought.
I know. You have Mozart. You have. Can you tell us?
Cello. I have Mozart. I have Monet is the older one. He's 14 years old.
Yeah.
Now, cello, uh, also 14. Then I have Mozart. It was the one from China. Uh,
Oh.
rescued. She's only 4 or 5 years old.
Oh my God.
The senior one, that was before my days of awareness. So I actually got Monet from this pet shop, but out of compassion because my previous dog passed away.
Oh
So
yeah.
I was getting ready to move to California, and my next door was the pet shop. So I always go there. I feel sorry for him. He's been locked up every day,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm gonna take this with me. I wasn't even thought about anything.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just that your
I was,
heart was
my
in
heart
it.
is broken for them, for all the dogs inside. They've been locked up from evening 5 o'clock all the way
I
to next
know.
9 o'clock. That's not fair.
It's
So
not right. Yeah.
I take each of the dog with me because I'm living next door. The owner happened to
Oh,
like
you would
like
walk them?
so I was like, can I take this one home? I'm next door. So overnight to give some love and bring it back next day. So I
Oh,
try to take turns for I hope they ban all these dog selling, you know. So I end up
Yeah.
with Monet. He has it's an inbreed. He's got a lot of issues, skin problems. Now he can barely stand up. His rear legs having a lot of problems. So
Oh,
all his
wow.
life is just struggling because of those inbreeding factory
Yeah.
what do
Puppy
you call it?
mills. Puppy
Puppy
mills.
mills, you
Yeah.
know.
It's
It was
terrible.
terrible. It's just a lesson for me to learn, you
Yeah.
know.
And
Yeah.
so, anyways, we'll get you to send me the pictures. I want Mozart, Monet, and a cello. Is it?
Hello, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll put that as part of the podcast, so for everyone to see your beautiful little babies.
But they all look so adorable. Because I'm in fashion, so I made them look like cute. You should make
Oh,
everything
you
cute and
style
beautiful.
them. You
I
style
style
them.
them to make sure they feel good because I know when they get a groom, they feel very happy. You know,
Oh
they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, it's
When you
cute."
look good, you feel good, right?
Exactly. The
It works
animals
for
feel the
them.
same way.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
I want to talk now about those two local, like Chinese rescue groups, and let's talk about 812 Faithful Dog Rescue, which is a private shelter in Beijing, and it was founded by Du Tay.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
so, how
Yeah.
did you get to hear from him and like about this organization and what kind of work are they doing and just want to hear all about them.
Uh, well, so when I was going to China, I want to visit the local shelters, you know.
Yeah.
So I contacted Peter Lee, who is the head of
Mm. I
Human
love that
Society.
man. He's amazing.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're doing great work.
Yeah.
So their main function as a Peter Lee and the Humane Society International, they actually working with the local rescuers
Yes.
to nurture these shelters and help them and reach out to them and get the feel of what they're doing and educate, you know, help them, you know.
Yeah.
So we visit the and he gave me the names of the people that to visit. So when I told him in Nanjing, do you have anyone in Beijing? You have anyone? Because I was
Ah.
along this way. So he gave me Dute's 812 Loyal Home Rescue, and then Miss Ha.
Yeah.
And there's another lady now I can't remember her name. It was also in Beijing. She's a professor, and she retired and she started her own rescue
Mm.
location. So I actually went to another one, but I didn't put the video together to do a video. But 812, I went to visit. It really got me. So I started my Mercy for Chinese Dogs
From that.
group.
Yeah.
From that, at early days, I actually called 812 Chinese
Ah.
rescue dog. So later on, I switched to Mercy for
Mercy.
Chinese Dogs.
Yeah.
So it's more of a broader umbrella. So I raised a fund for Dutua, and I went to visit the dogs, and I get the story of how much work he has done
Yeah.
in the local community. He's the one. He's this handsome young man, and his
Yeah.
family is like he's not getting a girlfriend, but he's got these dogs,
Oh, he has
and
no
he
life.
has
That's all
no
he.
life,
Oh
and
my
he does,
God.
yeah, he doesn't speak English. I wish he does. Then I would have got him on to speak to everyone.
Yeah.
So I went to visit, and in the evening, he would go to the local area to feed the stray cats, and
Yeah.
he will catch them and fix them and release them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, he was doing all that, and all his dogs. He does have help. So the helpers, like there are a couple that help. They're making the food, you know, and
Yeah.
he's kind of a local influencer. So he was helping, and also he also told me that the tough part is when if in WeChat, it was the Chinese app, he was telling people, hey, we should meet up. Immediately, the police would just knock on his door. What do you try to do?
Oh.
So they monitor this WeChat very closely. So they think you are trouble. And one time he has busted this a man. He's very sick. He abuses cats,
Mm.
torture cats, and kill them. His mom and sister actually help him uh, bury those cats, then he tortured and dissected.
Oh my
But
God.
he reported to the police, so the police just let him out or can't do anything. But regardless, he's still doing it. He's a one-man show. He helps, and his friends was helping. But he gets really frustrated with the people dumping dogs and to his shelter. He has moved multiple times just because people complain about the dog park. If you have never been to one of them,
Yes.
people get so excited and then they start to have the
It's
symphony
so
going
loud, yeah.
so loud that you couldn't even hear anything.
Oh
So the
my God.
neighbors complain. They keep moving
Oh
out or
boy.
further and further away from the city. He has to take. He rides his bike, and no matter winter time, he will get there. It's really hard. He really want me to help him to get some of the dogs adopted because there's
Yeah.
one dog. I think there's a Lily. She was such a sweet dog. She's handicapped, like a rare leg. She was like, "Is there any way I wasn't able to get the dog here, on wheelchair? But all this dog's life knows nothing but in the cage. The
Mm.
only time there people will let her out to walk around. That's why people say, well, why don't you adopt it locally? Adopt it. The dogs there living in the cages. That's
Yeah.
a huge. But now we're gonna try to see what I can do a concert for Pug Queen. She has 100 pugs being just rescued, living in China right now. Need to
Wow.
be rescued to U.S. because these dogs are going to be slaughtered for meat because no one's going to take them. So
And,
some loving person are taking care of them. But guess what? Where they're living, they live in cages,
yeah,
not
no,
in
that's not a life, you know. They need a home. They
one
need,
life.
yeah, they need to roam
So,
free.
but now there's coronavirus just halted all
Yeah.
the people traveling. So there's no flight volunteers. The dogs are suffering, living in the cages, waiting for the moment. And Sally, and also have some of the dogs on their way. They've already adopted. Sally, there's another lady. She has a foundation of rescue, as well. She was asking me how can we get. She
Dogs
heard
out.
about it. Just
Yeah.
needs funding to get these dogs, or fly volunteer to get these dogs here.
Yeah.
I said, you know what, you probably want to work with the individuals to start a GoFundMe page to help. Every little money, yeah, a person can raise so much if you just save a cup of latte. You can
Yeah,
help.
no, that's right. Often people are like, "Oh, I don't have money to donate," but really, $5 multiplied by
Right, right.
many. Yeah,
Right. So
that's
yeah,
it.
so now I'm like, right now I'm not directly involved in any of the foundation per se, but I'm like as a consultant, like I try to help
They reach
various.
out to you because they know you and they
And
trust
I
you.
right, and I use the platform of Mercy for Chinese Dogs group.
Yeah,
I have a fan page, which I noticed fan page is not as active as the group. So I have 3,800 people in that particular group. So
yes.
use that platform to educate people, to show what we can do. That's the most. And now I expanded a little bit beyond dogs and all.
Oh, yes. You talk about all sorts of animal rights.
Right. Yeah. Even the starters, the focus started with 812 is due to,
Yeah.
you know, it's still doing the same thing, saving the dogs. One time someone called him, so one dog was burned, the whole body was burned,
Oh
and
my
then
God.
he went to save that dog, and that dog, I think I don't know if I still have the pictures. The eyes couldn't even close; it just burned
Oh my
terrible.
God.
But he took the dog in. I mean, funding is always the issue. What they do is they put their salaries into it.
Yeah.
So then that's their life. They're basically that's their job.
Yeah.
I'm making money. I put all my salary into for these dogs.
Oh my
So
God.
it's frustrating as
They
heck.
have a heart of gold, but they need support,
Very hard.
obviously.
There's no support, but there are kind friends and family members who will help donating money and donating things. That's from
Has
below.
he, over the years, I'm just curious, because he's in Beijing, which what would you say? Is there a prevalent dog meat trade in
They're all
Beijing?
dog meat. There are dog meat. There are pig
Restaurants, yeah.
like that. smaller than Yulin or under the radar. It's not like
Yeah.
visible. You don't see in the market.
They don't
You see
advertise as
side of the
much.
road, some farmers will actually set up the little like a stand on the side. They're selling chickens, ducks, then dogs.
Yeah,
Like
that
so
sort
you
of thing.
see that. But as soon as the animal right people in Beijing found that they were passing the information to everyone, they will go rescue these dogs.
Okay,
You
so
know.
there's a growing number of activists in China.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure. But so he has not run into issues with like dog meat traders trying to steal his dogs?
No, they're very protected because what
Yeah.
happened was in China, the shelter, the people live with the dogs, so they
Okay.
don't leave the dogs. Like here in all the rescue, not the rescue places. It's like city-run adoption
Yeah,
places.
shelters, yeah.
They don't have anyone there overnight. That
No.
they just leave the dogs and they leave. Not in China. China, when you have a shelter,
You live
rescue
there.
shelter,
Yeah.
you live with the dogs. Not they hire people to live. They themselves do
Um,
not live. They have to work, right?
yeah.
So they hire the local farmers, like a farmers they don't farm anymore. The old couple, usually a couple, they would live with the dogs. So they have little a room amongst all
Mm.
the dogs. So they would just go around. And the sad part is their shelter doesn't have any toys or anything, nothing to play, nothing.
Uh,
There aren't any beds or anything. They just like
I
living.
mean, they don't have the resources for that, you know. So I guess the
And it's
goal,
hard to maintain. Obviously, you have to wash everything, blankets,
it's
everything.
so
You
much
gotta give them
money.
blankets. Next thing you know, it's all torn apart. So they just nothing.
So the goal with that is to adopt these dogs out to foreign countries. I mean,
Not for Bluetooth dogs. They're not.
no.
They're not for adoption. He would have loved someone to take those dogs, but not happening. If that's a huge amount of cost that would not be able to do.
Yeah.
Uh, but right now, at least they're safe.
Yeah.
We're bringing the dogs out. These dogs that has no shelter to go to right now,
Mm.
and just saved from the meat market or dogs like
Yeah,
that.
because I think it's the same situation if we talk about Ping An of Fu. That's a sanctuary in your hometown of
Right,
Nanjing.
right,
She has at this point. Okay, so I'll just say to viewers a little bit about the sanctuary. It's a basically a stray animal rescue that was started in 2002 and
right.
funded solely by Miss Ha Wenjin. She basically aims to rescue to the end, raise it all its life, meaning she does not.
She wouldn't be
She's
killed. Yeah,
opposed
no.
to euthanasia. She does not want to euthanize any of her dogs or cats.
Mhm.
I mean, they have all sorts of animals. Um,
Right.
and when I did
That's the cost, too.
yeah, and now it's grown to 10,000 animals that she has in her care. And so the goal with these is the problem is you cannot adopt dogs out to foreign countries unless you're a recognized charity, and that involves a lot of costs and paperwork. Is that kind of the problem? Because I'm seeing this and I'm like, it's not sustainable. Like
Mhm.
10,000 animals to care for. I mean, that costs, I can't even imagine how much that costs.
Right, right,
But I
right.
mean, I'm thinking the obvious, you know, uh, solution would be to adopt them out. Like if there's a rotation. Okay, so we rescue one dog gets adopted, and like, and so at least there's some.
Yeah.
But what are the issues with trying to adopt these dogs out? Is
Well, the issue really comes down to Miss Ha doesn't believe in shipping dogs to other countries. She thinks America will euthanize these dogs. They will kill these dogs.
oh
So
and
she said, America kills dogs. These dogs are not going to be killed. They are here to stay forever. So this is the one thing I've talked to her about. She doesn't believe in shipping dog out. Uh, the thing is definitely an issue because when I first visited, it was 5,000,
I
and
know.
that was like, but there's split into three locations. So there is a city location that's where closest in the city limit. there are a lot of smaller dogs that just intake the dogs because these dogs just being dropped off, or
Okay.
they're sick, they're ill, or giving babies or things. So they need uh, close care. Okay, so that's I can't really tell you how many dogs are there. At least like 50 or not more. So they have in the city limit. So
Okay.
then we went to police station. Police station has this really beautiful setting, like, that's also separating the dogs into different sections.
Okay.
So these dogs are cared by, actually, this is a great setup. The police and Miss Ha got together.
Oh.
So police relinquished their duty to capture dogs. So they will actually call Miss Ha's team to say, hey, there's a dog needs to be rescued or taken in. They will actually send. So police station actually funding. That's about
Oh.
1,000 dogs there. They are rescued from the police station. So police
Oh.
do donate money to them.
Okay,
So
well, so they corroborate with her and like
that's
so.
that situation. So when I
Okay.
went there, police is there, the dogs are being cared for. They are in a pretty good condition.
Okay.
They are
Well,
in
I saw
pretty
some
good
of the
condition.
pictures. It looks really beautiful, like
Yeah,
frankly.
like there's a husky come to greet me. That was a police station. But there's another husky, and oh my God, they're just the most loving dogs
They're
ever.
beautiful, yeah.
Oh no, so the police station, I think I wrote, if you see the video, it will see this is the police station. So the
Okay.
dogs are cared for. That's about roughly 1,000 at the time. And that was rescued by Miss Ha for police. So they're together. So police fund that. So but then further away, when the dogs cannot be adopted in the city center,
Yeah.
they forever be moved to by the mountain, the foot of
Yes.
the mountain. That's where the base is at. That's where most of the dogs end up
Yeah.
to.
The
So
countryside.
my dogs got there, they're not adopted
No.
mostly.
Okay.
So they are, so you still have a chance to adopt, you still in the city shelter. So when they're there, they are separated by hundreds of dogs at
Okay.
each section, but each section has an older couple living with them to take care of
Yes,
them.
yes.
And there is a vet. She walked me around in the video.
Yeah.
She actually is a nurse vet kind of a figure that she takes care of medical issues. So
Yeah, important to mention they spay and neuter them, so people at
well,
home.
well,
Yeah.
well, in China, they don't spay neuter all dogs.
No,
They
no.
select a gender. They will fix all the boys. So
Oh, I thought it was the females.
or some fix all the females, but
Yeah.
females are surgery, obviously.
Yeah.
So then I think I can't remember Miss Ha. They fix boy or girls, but they do
But they
fix
do
one.
fix them because,
Yeah,
if not, you can imagine.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
like, ah, we're gonna need
no,
to raise a lot more money.
yeah, they fix
Yeah,
one
one
only.
gender. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So now when I was there, there are one section. It was all the dogs rescued from Yulin. So that's like, I
Oh,
didn't get to there. I went up to the top and looked down. All these dogs were sleeping, those on the far distance, those are all rescued from one truck that
wow.
going bound for Yulin. And then I have just different dogs. The one I went in there, they usually allow people to go in the most friendly group. Those are the ones I literally feel like I thought I was gonna be falling down because they
I
were so
know.
excited to see me. There's a golden retriever.
I
There's a
know. It's such a beautiful
those
picture.
two. The one cutest. I just want to take him home. They all just want to go somewhere.
They
They
just
all
want to
want to
be
be
alone.
petted. They
Yeah.
all want to be loved.
Yeah.
But now Miss Ha does have volunteers. So I have like a foreign people go there to spend a week there to help out the
Yes,
dog.
yeah, and they
So
donate. A lot of the volunteers they
yeah,
donate. And,
yeah, a lot of people do donate, and the police station donate. In this particular time, I think the police didn't have the fund to give to them, so
okay.
they were lagging behind. There was no money. The day I talked to her, they said that there's no food the next day. So I had to take my own money to send it to her, waiting for Facebook, because Facebook is not sending the money until the raising the fund is ready to go.
No, and the dog is starving, so.
Yeah, so there's starving, so I have to wire the money out immediately so the
Oh,
dog
wow.
can have food and otherwise, you know what? And the dogs are not fighting because she also tell me that she leaves dry food all the way around. So the dogs are hungry, they just eat. So they never fight for food.
Yes.
Usually dogs, no
So,
toys fight. So the dogs just like live peaceful, and then they do have monitors. Each section have like hundreds of dogs. There's a couple will watch them. That's their job.
yes.
They wake up first thing, they feed dog, clean it, and do everything. And during the day, they live with the dogs.
Yeah.
24-hour monitors.
Well,
You
I mean,
know,
I think that's part of your fundraiser, your recent fundraiser for Miss Haas, because they had food shortages. I mean, they were running out of funds. Yeah,
yeah.
and you're the one who wired the funds out of your own
Yeah.
pocket. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but I know that it's money is coming, so then I can wire
Yeah, thank God.
that.
Thank God,
Yeah,
and it
and
just
then there's still. I wired anticipating it would be $2,500, so I wired the $2,500. So now we're a little more than 500 that, so I can wire the rest of them when the event is over.
yeah.
But they charge this Facebook charging $90, so it's not as bad. But now they haven't given me anything yet, so we'll see. This is my first time with the Facebook. Usually I go with the GoFundMe, and I was
Oh,
able to
okay.
raise money
They charge
for
you $90 to have an event like this. Is that it?
yeah. I
Okay.
I think they charge a percentage. It's a GoFundMe charges the percentages. So I
Oh, okay.
raised like over 2 grand for Jack, which is another Chinese rescue for his double hip surgery. He
Oh,
comes with his one leg was broken in 3 places. He has been limping all his life. He's the sweetest dog. I would have adopted all my
I
fosters.
know.
I raised the money, then he had his surgery done,
Wow.
and now he's adopted by actually a Chinese lady here. She just it's a big Pomeranian. He looks like a Pomeranian, but I think it's a mix with something.
But
He's got a
he's bigger than the little.
bigger than a Pom. He's got so much energy. And Jack, I want to visit him because when oh, trust me, every time a foster leaves me, my heart
So
just
they take
breaks.
a piece of your heart, eh?
I told you, one of the dog passed away from it was the hardest part ever. And I thought he was a puppy, but it was actually a senior, and I think his neurological damage from the
Uh,
long-term abuse from a domestic family.
mm,
It was heartbroken um, when he said goodbye. But the thing is, at least he sees a happy face in the end. You know what I
yes,
mean?
at least he knows love at the end. Yeah.
Right. But now, so that my most recent just is raising money for Ping An Afu.
Yeah.
Everyone can follow that, follow them, and you see firsthand. It give you a so much inspiration that there are good people in China that
Oh,
help.
it is
Without
inspirational. I
we
mean,
would not know any of those. People say, "Oh, these Chinese," but honestly, all these videos are coming from activists. Who
yes.
else would tape that to
Yeah.
get it out? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it's not going to be dog abusers. They wouldn't.
No, they
So,
know. I mean, I
so
can't.
all these videos are coming out is because they want the world to know.
And
They want.
they want our help, like you said at the
Yeah.
beginning, they need our help. And so, yeah, you can't paint a whole country with the same brush. I mean, it's just because
We
there's,
have a lot of animal abusing America. A lot
yeah,
this Texas location, everyone dumped their dog there, and
oh,
it's beautiful. The saddest the story, the dog is still sitting on the couch. The couch was being dumped out with the dog. It was
oh my
sitting there waiting
God,
for the owner to come.
it's
So
terrible.
we are in the first world country. We're still doing this kind of
Yes,
thing.
I mean, we have
And
puppy mills, we have dog fighting. We have,
Oh, yeah, dog fighting is major
it's
in the ground.
horrible.
Even like
Yeah.
a cockfighting. Ugh.
Uh, I
I
mean,
know there's like a, in I heard uh, 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 someone told me this guy actually raised roosters
dogs.
fighting
Oh, here in the
and
US.
in the Philippines and stuff.
Oh
It's
my
really
God.
crazy.
All sorts of things happening, but
All sorts of things.
we will never run out of work to do as animal rights activists. Um, so at this point, I guess we want to talk about like kind of the goal of my podcast was obviously to learn about the issue and understand the dynamics and how we can help. Because often I just learned about the cause only 2.5 years ago, so not that long ago, and I noticed that on
Oh, I is the gang one strong lady. That's you. You're always growing. You
well,
fight for animal rights.
Well, it's a cause that, like you, it just tug at my heart, and there's no way I
Yeah.
could move away from learning about this and do nothing. And
Sure.
so I was like, what can we do? Because we're over here, and yeah, it's happening like
Right.
8,000 miles away from us. What can we do to really help, And I felt like on Facebook, all I kept seeing is the same petitions being circulated. And I'm like, is that really helping? I don't think
No,
so.
Britain doesn't do
I
anything,
mean,
nothing,
not
no
for
help at all.
foreign countries. And that's another
No,
issue is like people are like,
correct. In
boycott.
America, yeah.
Boycott China. I'm like, good luck boycotting China. I mean, how
Maybe
the hell are you gonna boycott China? Everything you own in your house.
that's effective.
Yeah.
Well, I will always tell people, adopt, don't shop. Adopt,
Yes.
number one. If you cannot adopt, then you volunteer.
Yes.
If you cannot volunteer, you donate.
Yeah.
So if you donate, you cannot donate, you get the word out to help others. Like
Yeah.
for example, help
You
others
share.
facilitating dog share and get the dogs adopted. Like
Yeah.
like for example, if someone said this dog needs a home, try to find a home for the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Ask your friends, doing things, actively doing things. There are a lot of keyboard warriors. They just typing, okay, that's it. I did my thing. That's what Dutu gets really mad is a lot of people claim they rescued the animal, but they didn't. They just got the dog and dumped it to him. Now become his
Oh,
responsibility.
yes.
The dog, like you didn't rescue the dog. If you rescue, you put the money out. You
Yeah.
help.
You take responsibility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's responsibility. So you did a good thing, but you didn't really rescue the animal. So
No.
take your pocket, take your wallet out, and put some money out.
Yeah, put
That's
your money
where
where your
you,
mouth is. If you say
yeah,
you claim to be an animal rights activist, you claim to love animals, but then
yeah,
you're not willing to do the work.
right.
Yeah.
But my point is like if you don't have all the money, like right now I'm tight in money.
Yeah.
I've got issues, with lawsuits, and I have people scamming me, and I'm too nice and innocent to believe in the people I believe. I have no money, but I can raise money from other people to help out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, that's
Sorry, no.
it. A lot of people uh, have all sorts of excuses, but I mean, at the end of the day, you don't need to be a millionaire to make a difference. You really don't. You use your influence, and someone like you has great influence because you're very well known and respected. But even like anyone can jump on, like you shared a fundraiser. Well, they can share that and like see if other people are
Exactly.
willing to give. There's
Right.
always a better way to help than sign petitions. I mean, I'm not gonna diss petitions because there's some that are very good and very, I
Right.
mean, yeah, do sign them because it's something easy to do.
Right.
Um, try to make sure that it's a legitimate petition and it actually has a plan, like a plan of
Right.
action and it's going somewhere. But there's so much more that we can do, and you just highlighted all of them. You can donate, you can adopt, you can, share, you can volunteer. And
Right.
volunteering is a great way, and I've volunteered for my local SPCA. I also donate to my local SPCA because, you know, you have to start at home. You know, we have so many abused animals here in our own city, so that I want to support the work that's being done. But I also volunteered with HSI International because, lucky enough, they have their office in Montreal, where I
Oh,
live.
okay.
And so, if you would take the time to volunteer, I know you have and I have, but you know,
Yeah.
it changes you. It really
Oh,
does. And you see the transformation of the dog when it's not trusting you and it's fearful. And then, you know, the more time goes by, the more it becomes acclimated and starts trusting you. And then next thing you know, the dog is completely like 180
yeah.
transformation. And so that's,
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. The thing is, like, you can share on your Facebook, that's great, but really touch your heart is when you really have the connection face to face
yeah,
with an animal.
yeah,
That eye and eye contact
yeah,
changes your life, changes your soul. And
yeah,
I always say when you're there, you are you're evolved
yeah,
to this the sense, like right, the energy that you are one with the animals. It's so different than you just on a computer looking at a dog
yeah.
picture.
You don't have that
You
emotional connection. Yeah,
right, and it changes you forever. So I believe animals are our best teachers. They
yes,
teach us what empathy means, what compassion means, what truly love means to each person. Back in the days when I pray, can I get love? Can I get this? Now I would say, how about this world? All these innocent beings get all the love they need. Everyone needs love,
yeah,
not just myself anymore.
no,
Once you connect with another being, especially the animals that does not give you, like, doesn't you not cannot be reciprocity, like, okay, you do good for another person, you
yeah.
expect that person to do good for you. But animals, when
It's
you give
unconditional.
all expectations from the animals. This is
Yes,
true love. It's
pure love.
infinite, that's a pure, that's called unconditional love that we human really need to learn from animals. That's
Absolutely.
where it's coming from.
I
That
so agree with that. And I often say it, animals are our best teachers.
they
And
are.
my cat has taught me patience. He's taught me to be more peaceful. Because I notice, you know, animals feel energy more than we. In many ways, and if I would have an argument with my husband, the cat, you can tell it doesn't feel good, and I don't want that cat to feel like that. So it teaches you to
Right.
be, you know, considerate, kind, and compassionate. And these are all qualities that we want, you know, the world to shine with. You know, like our world
Yeah.
needs more love, it needs more compassion, and so
But what did they say? Now people uh, cry a lot more seeing an animal being sick and pass away on the movies than a human. That shows
yes,
a lot.
yeah,
People really in this, I never forget. There's an animation. There's two pictures. This one guy died. This guy goes. "Mm." Then the animal died. Tears goes. Ah! Cry.
I know.
See how shifted because of how we just feel the innocence of
The
an
innocence,
animal,
that's it.
not saying the pureness from this animal that didn't ask for anything from you, just only ask that you don't kill me,
Yeah,
you don't kill us, just let us live in peace. That's
yes,
all they're asking. As a if you would consider human has evolved, we should be evolved enough to care for others. Your
yeah,
soul should be evolved, not another iPad or another toy, a gadget,
yeah,
expensive. Oh my God.
yeah,
It's how well your soul has evolved. Like China right now.
yeah,
Technology wise, they're very advanced now.
yeah.
But have their empathy or soul awakened? Not so much. That would in China, we even said that. Even the Chinese criticize the other Chinese. They're like, Chinese as a civilization is going to take another 100 years to evolve, while technology can be evolving much faster.
Yeah,
So, but so evolve takes so much more of empathy out of people's soul than the technology I can buy just with the money.
yeah.
So
It's
we
so
we
much
all
more meaningful. Yeah. I
We have
mean,
to
at the end
change
of the day, you don't take your iPad with you when you die, right? So, I mean, I think we need to work on our own, evolution, our own awakening, our own, progress as a spiritual being. We're all,
that.
like I do believe we're spiritual beings, and no matter what your belief
You're
system is.
spiritually living a human experience. So
Yes,
that experience, you need to learn to grow, or you're gonna come back and relive this
I
over and over
believe that. I so believe that.
and
Oh
over.
my God. I don't want to come back. So
Maybe you'll come back as a cow. Maybe you will
that's,
really feel it. How about if you cannot be empathizing with another being, you're gonna come back. That's actually what there's an Indian. They do believe in that. They do
yes.
believe the cows. You
And
know,
it's so
if you
funny.
feel a cow, you'll come back. You
Yeah,
know,
so they respect the cow. But I mean,
that's only certain part of the India. Most of them, like if you watch Earthlings,
yeah, I can't
not so
watch
much.
that.
No,
Were
I
you
can
able
watch
to
it.
watch it?
No,
I
I
can't.
only need to watch a picture. I'm like already there. I was
Oh,
just
I know.
crying.
I'm
Yeah,
so
but some people
sensitive.
watch it. But Earthling is one movie that changed so many. Anyone, 99% people watch that movie,
Became
become
vegan. Yeah, I
there's
know.
no going around. If you watch that and still able to eat another being,
Something's wrong with you.
what's wrong with you?
Something's wrong with you. Actually,
I encourage everyone to watch that, you
yeah,
know.
me
And
too.
Sean Monsoon and Alec Patterson, I think they're going to work on another movie that really including the dogs, you know. So, because in that movie, not enough, because I think they're amazing people. They are right, animal focused, awakening focused, you know, producers. They make movies like really
That
help.
have meaning and that
Yeah,
change lives. Yeah.
I'm changed by Shaman. So I didn't watch Earthlings, but I watched the other one, the Unity. It's a more mild, no graphic
Oh,
images. And
Unity?
called the Unity. That was the
Oh,
movie
okay.
changed my life, and that's also by Sean Monsoon.
Yeah.
And that one, but the opening scene, I cried all the way through the whole entire movie.
I cry.
Going into the slaughterhouse and all silent, just the music and the cow's body language and the eyes.
The
It's
eyes.
just the eyes. That was it. The whole few minutes of front, nothing else, just the music and
Just,
the cow being forced into slaughter. That was the opening, and it's no killing or anything, but it's
it's,
just and with 100 celebrities narrating through the whole movie, so powerful. I had many of my friends watching it,
wow.
and
Okay, I might have to watch that. If you say there's no graphic,
no graphic. They're just this front part was just yank your heart out, and there's another part that was everyone can watch. It's already in YouTube. The clips of this mama cow chasing the baby
uh,
when they took the baby away. That was the two
like
clips, and the last
the dairy
day.
industry, they
Yeah,
rip their,
and then there's another part that was the Chinese, like they eat fish when they're still alive. That was part in the end. They cook them, and then the fish is still alive. Their body's cooked. Their head is still
oh
moving.
my God. Okay. But
But those are the only three. But no like a slaughtering, like undercover, like the one they did for uh, what's the other one? The gruesome
Dominion?
war.
Dominion?
No, oh no, I didn't see that one. The Earthlings. That's
Ah, yes, I know.
the
But
slaughterhouse
the problem
footage.
is, often it's vegans watching this, but we don't need to watch it. We're already converted. It's
Oh,
regular people.
you know, our words and our influence is so powerful. Because now my friend, I'm in fashion, so I have a lot of fashion friends.
Yes.
In my group of friends, literally half are all vegan now.
Oh,
So
wow. Because of
we
you?
learned together. Well, I talked about,
Yeah.
but one of my friends, his name's Ray, he changed it before I did. He became vegan before I finished everything. But I started to talk about it as I was journeying. I'm a very vocal person.
Yes.
I'm on my journey. I let you know I'm on this journey, okay? I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop being
I'm
vegan,
gonna tell
but
you about it.
I'm going there, going there.
Yeah.
So I keep repeating it, and then it makes sense to people. It's
Yeah.
making sense.
Yes.
So now my business partner, Marco Yankovic, he was eating everything before. He's cutting back so much. He and his girlfriend even become like vegan for 1 month. Try
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to
the challenge, a vegan
and
challenge.
now they are much more conscious.
Yeah.
At first we kind of butting head. Now it makes sense because he has 3 cats, so he loves these cats
Oh,
unconditionally. So those are the one that has animals are easier to shift.
I think so. I think so.
You see them differently.
And often I'm told, like, because I'm in Montreal, and there's a pretty strong vegan community here of animal rights activists, and they're like, but why are you so hell bent on ending the dog cat meat trade? I mean, why not focus your energies on, like ending the meat industry in your own country? But I'm like, well, yes, I want to do both, obviously, but I think one is much more realistic in my lifetime, and I feel dogs and cats are like gateway animals.
Right.
They teach us through them, through their companionships, through living
Oh,
with
yeah.
them, that animals have feelings, and you see their personalities come to life, and then you quickly, very quickly, start like understanding that all animals are really like that.
Exactly. That's how
And
I become. First to start through a
yeah,
dog, then you start to realize, well, what about pigs? What about cows?
yeah. So what makes that animal
Oh,
different,
yeah,
really?
it's harder to see meat is a murder. So in the end,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
people always like, what about the children? Why don't you fight for children? I
We
said,
can't fight
everyone,
every problem in the world. Like, we're,
there are plenty of people fighting for children. It's
yes,
not right. People
exactly.
fighting for cancer, fighting for diabetes.
Yeah,
You have a calling. Every person have a calling,
yes.
and our calling is to try to fight the dog meat and cat meat trade. And inevitably, I'm gonna bring up other animals. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but that's it.
We have a headway to other animals like dog and cats. We're so accustomed to as a
Yeah,
domestic
because we
pet.
shared our life with them, and that's the market difference is that most of us have not had a cow as a pet, growing
Yeah,
up, but most of us have had a dog or a cat, and so we can relate to those kind of animals, and
yeah.
it opens your heart and your compassion to all animals, I think, and also I feel the dog cat meat trade is just a little bit. Very cruel because it's not governed, but there's no protocol. There's no government, regulating this meat industry. It's
Right.
as cruel as it comes. I mean, these dogs are crammed in cages. Their bones are broken off just to fit as many
I
dogs as
know.
possible.
Yeah.
They often sew, like you were mentioning at one point, they make soup out of the paws of the dogs,
That's
and
I think I believe it's in Indonesia. There's a specific
yes,
Cambodia. They do dog paw soup, but they discard the body
yeah,
and leave them without legs and dying of bleeding. But in Korea, they call Bushingtown that they use dogs as soup.
yes, the
Kind
whole
of
dog.
old dog,
But
They Chinese, these uneducated Chinese will eat anything put forth. Like
yeah,
anything walkable, they will eat it.
yeah.
So didn't I tell you one time this is a friend of a friend actually looking at the little animals. People will say, "Oh, how cute!" It's like, I wonder what this animal tastes like. It's like the
Oh,
mind. But the good news is they are even awakened a lot more. They are started eating less. The person that said
wow.
this animal, how does that taste like? Now is eating less meat. Yeah. Okay. So
There's always hope. There's
that's
always hope.
oh yeah,
And
there is all.
and I can pretty much vouch that almost everyone that started out fighting the dog cat meat trade has eventually progressed to become vegan because it's hard to when you're that entrenched in animal rescue, it's inevitable. You're gonna start to realize, oh, okay, but this industry is also extremely cruel, and how hypocritical am I if I'm like rescuing a dog, but I'm eating a cow? You're
Yeah.
gonna make that association. It's just a matter of time, and so I think it's an important cause. It's certainly one of the worst, the most important animal welfare cause in Asia, in all of Asia. And it causes a lot of social unrest. People don't realize that rabies is a huge problem. Human rabies in Asia is a huge problem. And that's a direct, uh, uh, it's directly related to the dog meat trade. So
Yeah.
if we can eliminate that, that category of animals, then we'll have that much more chances of becoming a vegan world, which is what we
Right.
aspire to be. So,
Yeah.
there are many reasons why I'm fighting this trade, but, one of the main reasons is because I feel like it's so, obviously wrong, and it could be shut down, altogether.
Yeah, definitely can. Like it would definitely
It will
have to keep up.
happen.
It
And,
will happen.
well, whereas in my lifetime, I think this could happen. I could see the end of this whole trade, and I don't know that I'll see a vegan world in my lifetime. I'm a little bit too old for that, but
Oh no. But
maybe in my
really,
other lifetime.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it will happen. The parallel universe, we have another dimension. That other dimension is a pure world that we
Oh,
don't eat each other.
oh, can we have that world now?
We thought like I always go, you eat animals. You cannot be animal lover. You eat animals.
Yeah.
If I love my friends, I don't eat my friends.
No, I don't. I used to say when I became vegan as a 15-year-old, I'd say I don't eat anything with a face.
That's great.
Or that
And
comes from something that had a face. So,
or how about some like there's a mother. I don't eat anything with mother. You
yeah,
know,
you
uh,
know.
it's just my friend also recommended a documentary called My Friends is Octopus. Have you heard of that on
No,
Netflix?
my friend is
Uh,
an octopus.
about octopus. It's
Okay,
you got to watch that. I haven't had the heart to watch
on
that.
Netflix. Okay.
Here, all the my teacher or something like that. This one guy spent 1 year of time under the water, form a bond with this particular
Octopus.
learned so much and
Wow.
then a friend of mine recommended that he still eats animals. He was like, "Oh, I think I'm not gonna have. I don't think I can eat an octopus anymore." See, this those
Well,
rude
at least the
kids.
octopuses are off his plate. It's progress. It's progress.
The octopus actually touching the hands of the person, and I didn't know that he can hide herself. And I didn't realize the octopus will give birth and die. I
Oh
didn't
my
know that.
God,
So
no.
what a great mother,
A
huh?
lot
This
of
animal.
mysteries still out there for us to uncover.
So much to learn about animals. We're so ignorant, or we're so arrogant to think we are the ultimate.
Yeah,
Other animals are stupid,
not
but
so
they have
much.
intelligence so much more than humans. Sometimes we just don't speak the same language. They
Yeah,
speak their language.
that's
You
bottom
know,
line. That's
and
exactly
you're
right.
probably laughing at a human right now.
Well, I often say I prefer animals to humans, and I'm sure a
Oh,
lot of
I
people
said
would
that
agree with
many
that.
times. Oh, I said that many times that it really offends some human. Like if they don't understand animal like a vegan, they don't see that as a how dare you say that.
I know, but I'm like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, really.
No brainer, because my dogs love me and they're always by my side. They
Yeah.
would not try to eat me, that's for sure.
No, and they don't try to
They
manipulate
would
you.
bite me because I was touching her the wrong way. Just teach you a lesson, but she's not eating me for food.
No, no, that's it. She'll bite maybe, but that's it. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap it up. And is there anything you would like to say? Parting words to viewers. I mean, most of the viewers are dog cat meat trade activists, and you've been part of this cause for many years now. So, do you have hope for like a hopeful parting message for our
Yeah,
guests?
but the problem message is just don't bash a whole entire country, number one. Number two, don't say Chinese government or a Korean government is not doing anything. Just like American government wouldn't do a lot of things. You need to hit the local government. That's
Yeah.
where you're going after. You're
Okay.
going to cities, the city government, who's the governor of the city,
Yeah.
that you're the one to make the changes, not the U.S. government or Chinese government. They're way too high to care about the local issues. And
Yeah.
dog breeding is still a minority in China. They're only in certain regions. So can be changes through the local government.
Yeah.
There's no, and two is we need to work together, not against each
Yes.
other. We're
Amen.
here together. Stop calling other people out. Nobody's perfect, so you should not be telling other people they should you do it right or they did wrong. No one is right or wrong. Everyone makes mistakes, but ultimately, what they have done for the society, for the dog and cat, for the animals, more than you have ever done. So if you know they do more, stop yapping. Do
Yes.
something. Put your money where your mouth, your keyboard is.
Yeah.
That
I so echo that sentiment because, it's pretty dark, so there's a dark side to rescue, and unfortunately
very
some
good.
some people just are hell bent on darkening someone's image to maybe benefit. I know that some nonprofits have put out like some slander campaigns, honestly, in the
Yeah.
hope that they would gain their donor base. It's very, very sad to say, but a lot of these rescue groups are in it. Ultimately, maybe they started out for the animals, but it became for profit. You know,
Right.
you know,
None for profit or for ego in
for
the end.
ego, for
Or
repu-
revenge, or
yeah,
they're getting fired, then they want revenge on a specific person.
yes,
There are plenty of them in LA. I don't know, other, I'm sure everywhere.
yeah.
Even UK, I've heard a story who so and so hates so and so, so they smear campaign on
Oh,
so and like just you have you done enough? If you think this words out is helping animals or you're hurting animals,
it's
if
hurting.
your mouth comes out spear hatred, then stop it. Just stop
And
it. Love and the light will shine on all darkness. So if you spill darkness, you are going to be shined on by the light. So
yeah.
stop doing anything that's hurting others, hurting animals, hurting another being, you
Ultimately,
know?
I agree. Like these smear campaigns are taking away from the animals. And if you care about animals, don't get involved. And if you have not seen or heard with your own eyes and ears about something, then stay out of it. It's none of your business. It does not affect you. I mean,
Everything applies to each of the stories. So
yes,
you stop listening to rumors,
yes,
innuendo, lies, and stop doing that. And unless you take your own trip to the shelter, to the
yeah.
foundation, to see with your own eyes, if secondhand information is never 100%
No,
accurate.
it's never accurate. And bottom line, if you can't prove someone's innocent or if you can't prove someone is guilty, you probably, you have to keep your mind open. I mean, I know that recently there was a whole story on Sound of Animals, Michael Chor, and he was vindicated in the course. And frankly, the judge really was very harsh on the people that were accusing him. They said, "You have nothing. You have no proof, and you smeared this man's reputation all
I'm
over
glad it's
social
indicated.
media." And ultimately, what happens is people stop giving to those organizations. The
That's
dogs
exactly true.
the dogs no longer can be cared for, and
That's where I have all the dogs still in China with Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation. All the
yeah,
money spent on defending your innocence. And for these
instead of helping the animals.
evil people that try to sell the story to LA Times, and these were the ones that used to work for Animal Hope.
Yes,
Now they bend the story. They used to defend him. Now they bend the story to their liking.
yeah,
And so now, what do you get out of it? Nothing. You think you saved the animals? You didn't save a single one. Now the funding is depleting.
yeah.
People are not donating because they're putting doubt in people. So animals are suffering in China. The last few years, we're not able to go there to save animals because of all these people.
Because
So
of like slander campaigns.
we
I mean,
still have over 100 to 200 dogs in China needs to from Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation needs to be transferred to here, but we need the funding,
Yeah.
so it's all about animals. People just like don't understand that. These people are just awful people.
Yeah, so stay out of it. That's the last word. I mean, I would say, like, do your thing, do your research. If you don't feel good about an organization, don't give to them, but don't jump on the bandwagon of
Attack
perpetuating
other
lies
people.
and
Yeah.
rumors. And frankly, I read all those articles. There's nothing, there's nothing in them because they have nothing.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. I mean, like
Yeah.
you want to go undercover, you risk your life to go undercover.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have to pay the butcher to say,
Of
I pretend I'm the butcher. Myself, I'm going there to buy the meat. How do you think anyone would let you in under the cover? It's very
it's
undercover.
ridiculous.
It's impossible
Uh,
to let you in. We'll kill you. They're mafias, you
Yes,
know.
exactly. Thank you. Oh, well, it was a pleasure having you on the show, Sheena. I'm so glad you were so gracious because this is a second recording. I mean, the first one kind of, it didn't
Yeah,
work
my
out.
internet was not working well, and I was busy doing other things. So yes, I'm glad we had a great conversation, and I
Yes,
hope any of these messages, if anyone can listen just a part of it to have a good understanding what we can do for the animals,
yes.
that would be great.
And
If
you're,
my words are thinking just a little bit, touch your heart just 1 millimeter,
then
it will be
the
great.
world's better off for it. Absolutely.
Exactly.
You're a fine example of what, one person can do, and I applaud you for everything you've done over the years and
You're
continue to
doing
do.
great.
You're amazing. I love
Yeah.
you.
Love
Much
you.
love to you.
Sending on with the mother.
Thank you,
Take
Sheena.
care.
Take
Stay safe.
care. All
Okay.
right.
Bye.
Bye.